Hello and welcome to another exciting video from Ken's Training. Today what we're going to do is we're going to install a Astragal strip on this pair of front doors on a residential home. Now, here is the Astragal strip. It's still brand new in the packaging here. I'll take this apart so that you can see it. And I'll give you a close-up of the door to show you what's happening here. Okay, currently you can see the door strip that's in the middle here is not really meant for this purpose. That's not a Astragal strip. If you open the door, you'll see that this here is just a door seal that belongs here on the sides and top of the door. That's what's happening. Now the reason why I'm doing this is because that strip isn't really meant for it to be that purpose. You need to put a Astragal strip there in the center portions of the two doors to get the proper seal. Also, I've got some tape down here at the bottom to prevent air from drafting through, trying to keep the door seal here as tight as possible. Who's this? Wait a second. Alright, so when you're on the inside of the house, you can see some sunlight coming through there, so you know you don't have the tightest seal. So we're going to just try to tighten that up. So that's going to be the goal for today. So the first thing that I'm going to do, and then here is the T-strip that I purchased at the Home Depot. Aluminum and vinyl Astragal. And then there's the dimensions of it right there. Okay. First thing I'm going to have to do is remove this strip here, which is just held in by Phillips head screws. Pull that off, and then I can begin the process of mounting the new one on. And here we go. Okay, I've pulled off the old strip, so now you're just looking at the two doors. And I opened up the packaging on the Astragal strip. Now, I do have a problem down here at the base. Let me zoom in on that. And I'm going to show you that problem. Now, you see that gap right there on the right-hand side? That's not going to be any good. And I'll show you why. The Astragal strip has one side has a rubber, and the other side, so one side here has rubber, and one side does not have a rubber. So the side that does not have the rubber is where you want it to go up against this door here, so the door with the rubber is on the door that's operating. Now, you'll see how far this comes over. Well, if you try to put this in, it's now hitting this bottom portion here. So this bottom portion thing is going to have to be trimmed or slightly moved over that way. Enough so that I have a gap going this way. So I need to create that opening to allow for this to happen. So that's one thing that needs to happen. Secondly, this one over here, I'm probably going to purchase another one because there's a big gap here that I'm going to want to come over. So I know that I'm going to want to get another one on this side in order to make up this so I don't have that big air gap difference there. Or what I could do, just to try to save some money, since this door is usually not used, is just simply put some insulation in here to prevent the airflow from going through. I'll probably try that one first. That'll save me $15 from the cost of this this bottom portion here. So that's another idea that I could do. I could even take this, unscrew it, move it over so it looks here, and put the insulation on the back side. You'll never even notice it. It would look pretty good. So I've got a couple of options there, but the first thing I need to do is I need to get that over. So I'm going to start there. Okay, it turns out that the bottom strip, this one, cannot move any more over that way. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to cut it. Now, I did put some tape there and mark it where I believe it needs to be taken out and cut, and I removed a couple of screws there. But before I actually take that out and cut it, the T-astragal strip also needs to be cut. Okay, now you can see the entire door. So the T-astragal strip, what's happening is that right now, if I go all the way to the bottom, all the way down, it won't fit. It's hitting up here. So I need to cut this to make it fit inside. So before I cut that bottom one, I'm going to cut this one, then I can lay it right down there and double check that pencil mark. And if I need to do new tape and do a new pencil mark, I will, to make sure I got the correct clearance. So before I cut that, I'll cut this one, put it in, and do that. Alright, I've set up a tabletop out here so I could cut that. I pulled the rubber back on the T-astragal strip so that way I wouldn't be cutting any rubber at all. And I've already marked it at 78 3/4, but before I do, I am now going to, one last time, just going to come back over here and double check this measurement, because I want to do a measure twice, cut once situation here. I don't want to mess this up. So I'm going to make sure I'm very accurate here. And I really want it tight, as tight as I can get it. So I'm going to put that down, hold that, come up here, and yeah, 78 3/4 should be pretty good, should be perfect. Okay, so I just wanted to double check that measurement. And I'm going to come back over to here. And I'm going to go ahead and cut that now. Took a little bit of effort to get that out, but that's finally cut. Pull off that tape. I got a file here so I can deburr that. Okay, we got it. Okay. Now I've got plenty of overlap on this side and on the other side, to the point where I'm going to be cutting that, but I can wait right now to cut that. Okay, now that I've got that pretty much to where I want it, let's go back to the door, see how that fits. That looks like it's going to fit fine on the height. Let's pull it down now. Alright. Now, as far as my pencil cut goes, looks like I was off a little bit. Can be a little bit closer the other way, so it's good that I took that step and did it that way. Let me grab the pencil. So now I'm going to put it up against the other door over here to the left, super tight. And now I'm going to draw that out. Okay. So it wasn't much, but I'm trying to get this as accurate as I can. Now I've got a line there. I should be able to take this out now. Okay. Now here's what this one here looks like. And what I'm going to do is I've got my mark right there. I'm going to pull that rubber back because I don't want that rubber to be cut right now in case I want a little bit of an overhang there. So I'm going to pull that rubber back and then I'll go ahead and cut this, put this back in, and go from there. I'll probably just the only thing that I'm actually doing here is I just need this for the T-astragal strip. So I'm not going to cut this like this. The T-astragal strip just needs to overlap here. So what I'll actually do is I won't even cut this bottom rack or anything. I'm just going to cut in here and cut to right here. So just where the T-strip goes will be the only metal that I remove out of here. Alright, so I'm going to now do that. Same thing over here. Let's flip this around and get you a cut right there. Alright. Again, the rubber is just kind of coming back here out of the way. Not worried about the rubber right now.
If you could read my mind.
There it is. Okay, now I'll just deburr that. Okay, now let's show you there. Alright, so what I've done is right where the T-strip is going to go, it's going to land right in there. This should be okay, and I've left all that rubber underneath to give me as much door seal as possible. So now let's go back to the door. I'm going to give you a zoom right down on where I'm working, and you should be able to see that very good. Alright, now give me a moment to put this whole thing together and you'll see that line up. I'll just put a couple screws in here to hold this for now. Not stripping them out. Alright, let's see how good my cut is. I think that's going to be okay. I might be hitting there. Hold on. I want a little bit of a gap there. too tight there. Now, it looks like on this section here is just coming out a little bit this way. So when the door is closing, it's nipping right there. So I'm just going to file this down a little bit right there. Give me a little bit more space over. So that's what I'm going to do right now. That's really good right there. I don't want to remove any more. That's perfect. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and install this. That's really good right there. I don't want to remove any more. That's perfect. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and install this. They gave really small Phillips head screws. My number 2 Phillips head bit is a little bit too big for it, so I got to change that tip out. And number 1 tip looks like it's going to be perfect. So let me change that out. And I got very tight tolerances here. So I'll start it in on the top. So what I'm going to do is just go right up to the very top and then just bring it down just about a 1/16 of an inch. And then I'm going to sink in one screw and then see how that looks. Of course, I'm not stripping anything out here. I'm being very careful. I don't want to strip any of the wood out. Alright, so I've got a slight gap at the top, which is good. And I've got a slight gap at the bottom too, so I can open and close the door, no problem. I've got a little bit of an overhang here. I just left that in play. Let's see how that looks. Now, I definitely have some holes here I'm going to have to address from the old strip, so I'm going to have to put some putty in there and paint those over. So I know I've got that coming up. That looks good. The only issue that I'm going to have here is that this door is hitting this Astragal strip. So it's so tight that it's actually hitting. So I'm either going to have to sand this down a little bit, or I'm going to have to move the doors over a little bit, or something like that. All right, but for now, let me go ahead and finish installing this. Okay, so where the cutouts are, it's going to be a little bit of a problem. I actually need to I have to take this out to allow for some of the metal for the strike plates and for the door opening. Okay, with the Astragal strip in place, what I did is I put some blue tape here, which indicated where the line met up with it, right? Then I put some blue tape here, which is where I need to cut on the T-strip. Because the reason why I need to cut it is because this here is interfering with it. So there's one of these at the top, one of these at the bottom. Then you also have door hardware. This is for the deadbolt right here, and you can see that the T-strip is right there in its way. You won't be able to slide through, and this is for the door lock. Same thing. That needs to be removed as well. So I've got it labeled here to where that is, and then I've got it labeled here to where I need to remove the metal. So I'm going to pull this T-strip off, and then I'm going to have to cut that out. So that's my next. Okay, what I've done is I've marked my T-strip with blue tape, and the way that I've done that is I marked where I want to start my cut. Then I went over to the door and I measured how much depth I need to go, and it was determined that it was 1/4 of an inch, and then I made a line coming down here. So that's my goal, and I did that all the way through for the different pieces that I need to cut. There's 4 cuts on here in total. Now I got with me my reciprocating jigsaw. We're going to try it, and I got a bimetal blade on there. See if I can't get, hopefully this isn't going to jump on me when I do the cuts. We'll see how well it goes. And here we go. Okay, I've got the Astragal strip in. Now I want to show you up at the top what I was talking about. You can see here I've got that extra piece of rubber, so that'll help create that extra seal there when the door closes. Alright, so right now I've got it so that the interior door can open up. So I've also notched out, as you can see here, for the lock that locks in the top. section. Also, I've got it notched out. Hang on. I've got it notched out here for the slide bolt, notched out here for the door lock, and notched out down here for the bottom slide bolt there. Alright, and then I've also left some extra material here so when this closes, actually if I just fold this over the other way, I'm going to fold it back, it's a little hard to do, there it is. That way when the door closes, that will also help create that seal right there, because normally this door just remains stationary. Now, let me show you the problem that we're having. When you try to close the door, the door is hitting the new strip on the inside. This was the reason why it was removed in the first place. So it's preventing this whole thing from closing. When you come over here on the inside, if you watch the two doors, you'll see how tight that is up at the top. Now, if you compare that gap down at the bottom there, you see I've got a gap at the bottom. So there's a couple different ways that I can go about trying to create this a little bit bigger opening. One thing I could do is I could sand this section of the door down where it's hitting, right here. Another thing I could try to do, let me close that. Now, I could see if this, I could suck in this way, but if you see that that door is already up against the frame right there, so I really can't move this door into that frame any more than it is. Let's go over to the other side. Now that is a pretty good gap. I think I can get that door to come in. Now mind you, when this door pulls in here, this gap is going to come up a little bit right there, but it looks like I could bring that up a little bit. I don't need much. I only need about 1/16 of an inch or so. The middle hinge and the bottom hinge, those spacings look good. So if it's possible that I could take this, bring it back a little bit more, then I could gain a little bit more space here, which is where it's hitting. So that's going to be the goal. Now, let me open this up. Now the question is how do I want to do that? There's two different ways I can go about doing that. Number one is I could remove the hinge, open this up here, notch into the frame here, and try to suck that in deeper. Or I could take it out from the door, notch in this way, and just use my chisel and try to bring that in a little bit closer. Looking at the rest of the door, this is kind of sunken in. This one here is kind of sunken in. This particular one is sitting out. There might even be someone might have even put some shims back there. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to verify that there's no shims or anything anywhere in this hinge to see if I can suck that back a little bit. So that's where I'm at right now. Okay, when I took that hinge apart, I found this shim. And I removed that shim. I actually still need to put a couple of bolts back, but I removed the shim, and now the door is closing. And it's closing pretty good. Take you inside, watch the gap. Now that's pretty good. Now if you follow that gap all the way down, you'll see that it's pretty even all the way through. Top gap right there is fine. Over here, no problem. So I'm not sure why they put that shim in there or what that was all about. The slide bolt works good. The door works good. And One thing that I did an inspection here. That rubber seal that you can see is really up tight against the door. So that is just a nice seal to prevent cold air in the winter from going in through the door in between the two openings. So that's working out really well. Better than the other deal. Now, oh look, there's a little Tego. What are you doing? Hey. Alright. I'll see you in a little bit. I gotta keep working here. Alright, so now, one thing, now you don't go outside, you stay there. What are you doing? Alright, so one thing that I want to show you, when the door is shut, okay, so here's the door shut. Now one thing you want to look for is sunlight. If you can see sunlight in your gaps, then you know you got something going on, right? And where do I have sunlight? I have it right here. And let me get you down there to see that. Okay, and I'll zoom in on that so you can see that really well. So right there is where my air, oh, hold on. Right there is where my air is now going to enter in through the door. And of course I don't want that. Now the right thing for me to do, if I wanted to fix this 100% professional, would be to take and remove this strip right there, buy a new one, come all the way out to the end, and then taper it so that the rubber came all the way out to the end. Before I go ahead and do that, which I may do, but before I go ahead and do that, what I'm going to do is I got some insulation here. I'm going to take and put this insulation, and I'm going to cut this. Here it is right here. It's just pipe insulation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to cut that, put it in there, and see if I can get it to work without doing that. So let me see if I can't do that, and I'll come back in a little bit. Okay, I put some insulation in there. This is what it looks like close up from this side. Trying to keep that gap down as narrow as possible. Now, let me show you what it looks like once you open the door. Basically, you're looking at that section right there, keeping that in. And when you come inside, this here is what it looks like. All I did was just fold it in there. It's not glued or anything. And when you shut it, there's a little sunlight, yes, right there. But I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get that one cleared up. And the major portion of the air infiltration, let's see if I can show you that. Hold on. That's pretty much gone. There's a little bit of a gap right there. I'll see if I can't seal that up by loosening up the screws on the other side and then pushing this down. Again, I might just go to the depot. I don't have one right now, but if I need to go back to the depot, purchase another one of these, and then I can get it all the way to the end and get it to seal up without the insulation. I did a couple of trial pieces there, but this one here seems to be working pretty good, and it's not that bad. It sticks out a little bit there, but when you open and close the door, it doesn't move. And it's sealing that up nicely, and I don't, so I have a nice Astragal strip there and no blue tape. You can see there, no sunlight going through, so that's sealing up really nicely. So come wintertime, I'll have a lot less air infiltration through these doors. Okay, I was able to loosen up these 3 screws here and drop that down. So it's those 3 screws there that I loosened up. I also rearranged and did a new piece of insulation here. Now, let me show you what the door looks like. I was also able to get that extra lip. I don't know if you remember that I had there, and I brought that out. I found it was being tucked underneath. So now, when you close the door, there you go. There is a slight amount of sunlight there, but that is not bad. And underneath, that gap is completely gone. There's a little bit of gap over here from the screw, but that's not terrible. So that's where I'm at. All in all, that did not come out bad. There's just a little gap right there, but I don't think that's bad. I can live with that. The door is operating nicely. Not too much effort to close it. Slide, the lock works really well. And there you have it. Last thing that I'll need to do is I will just need to come back here, put some wood filler in here, and then just put a little bit of paint or stain to match the door here. So that's one thing that I'm gonna do right now. See if I've got wood filler in here and to do that, so at least that looks attractive. But the front of the door certainly doesn't look bad. It looks pretty appropriate for this front entry, and that's it. Okay, I want to show you what I've done. Where the screw holes were on the old strip, what I did was I used this putty knife and I just kind of indented slightly where the where all the screw holes were. Then I just took some wood filler, which I used this particular wood filler, Elmer's Carpenter's wood filler, and so I put that in. It says that it's interior, exterior, stainable. Okay, so I'm going to let that cure for overnight. Then tomorrow what I'll do is after, and then I wiped it down so it's almost kind of smooth as it is. Then I'll just use one of these stain markers here in order to get that to try to be close to the door so you don't notice it. If the stain marker doesn't do well, then I'll just use a little bit of actual stain or a combination of the two just to darken up these holes, just so that they look pretty good. I was able to loosen up these 3 screws here and drop that down slightly, and I think I just about got that gap completely removed on the opposite side there. Let's see how well we're doing there. Boy, you really can't see any sunlight at all through there now. And over here, well, just where that screw hole is, right there. This threshold is not in the greatest of condition anyways. This whole threshold actually has a failure in it right here. You can see where this gap has brought that down. It's not really supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be flush with that. So I think somebody brought a dolly in here and it crushed that down slightly. So theoretically that threshold should be replaced, but hey, it's still working and it's still there. It's got just that small gap where that screw hole is right there, and I can live with that. So not bad at all. The only thing that I'm living with here is just this extra piece of insulation just to try to keep that seal in there as tight as possible. I could try to put a little tape there or something just to hold that. I might actually do that just to hold that in place, just so it doesn't kick out. And then that's the final product right there. Alright, thank you. Alright, that ended up not being the final product. I couldn't stand that piece of insulation. It lasted about a month or two, and then I finally just ended up removing this entire bottom strip and replacing it with the brand new one. So there you can see how it comes out right to the edge, and it actually makes a pretty good seal. I'll show you it from the other side. Let me open up the door and step outside. And this is what it looks like now from the front. and it wraps up pretty nicely. You know, I got it to fit real well. So that is the final product. When you cut these bottom pieces, you want to bring them right to the bottom of the door to allow that to give you as much, what's the word I'm looking for, as much seal as you can get out of it. You don't want, well, here's one dog, there's Milo right there. Hi Milo. You just want to make sure that you have as much seal as possible. Now, alright, so here's the side view, just to show you that. Trying to bring this here out as much that way as possible, so when it closes, that's sticking out as much as possible. Now the same on the other side. Now because I only installed one side, what I did is I cut this one here a little long. And see how I cut this right flush with the door right there. You can see how I did that. I brought this one out, so this way when the door closes, it's got a really good seal. Now, you see I can show it to you. There's that little section right there. It kind of gets buried in there. Now, let me try to show you what it looks like with the door closed. Alright, now, let's look for gaps underneath. Now, right there is a small hole. That's because of the screw that's going down into the threshold. The threshold is a little weak, and I'm not going to replace the threshold. But generally speaking, if you're looking at the seal, right there's a little bit of a gap. Now, right here at the door, there is a small gap right there. But, you know, I tried to get it as tight as I could. And then coming over here to the right, that's all right there again, that's another screw hole right there. And so I tried to I couldn't get it exactly 100% airtight, but it's pretty damn close. But anyways, I wanted to show you that I couldn't stand that styrofoam. I had to get rid of that insulation, and now it looks better, and I don't have to keep fooling with it. So that's the final product. Thank you for watching the video, and if you did like this video, please click on like underneath. Thank you so much. Bye.